Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to let you know why nothing quite feels like a tiger inside the game. Now look, QuickyBaby lore, are you hearing this for the first time? I started playing the game pretty much because of the tiger. It was the first tank that I wanted to get when I was on a website buying an EVE Online game time code in 2010. It offered me a closed beta invite for World of Tanks, and I decided to accept, thinking, what is this crazy game? Went in, tried it a little bit, ended up getting hooked, and here we are, pretty much kind of like 13 and a half years later, with me still loving this game. Now, the first tank that I wanted to get was the Tiger. It's the only one that I really knew about, and I was the ultimate cliche. Tiger, 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 let's go and get my hands on one. So much so that I went to Tank Fest in 2012, pretty much as I was starting out, kind of my content creation, with Ike. As you all know, had an amazing time. Back then in 2012 at Tank Fest, you could go right up to the Tiger as it was leaving its nest. We call it a nest. And like feeling the pulse of the engine in your chest. Wow, it was definitely a really cool experience. And from then I've been to Tank Fest in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Something happened there. 22, 23, and then not quite sure whether I'll be going this year or not. It's still an amazing experience for me. Just the tanks don't change really outside of a few of them, but the people do. And that's what's so special about going to Tank Fest each year, is getting to meet hundreds of you from the QuickyBaby community, right? But I digress. Let's focus on the game at hand now that you have been fully updated on QuickyBaby lore, at least with regards to the Tiger and why this tank means so much to me. So today I'm playing Tiger 131. It's the Tiger that was captured in Africa by the Brits, as I think the story goes that a Churchill shell hit the barrel of the vehicle and went down into the turret ring. So much so that I believe that Wargaming have actually modeled it inside the game. You see here, this isn't a ricochet from a shell. As you can see, nothing's actually hit my tank. The shell ricocheted off the barrel and went down into the turret ring, as you can see here and here, and then it jammed the turret shut, and the crew abandoned it. And that's why it was quite a find, or quite a claim for the Brits from that regard, because Tiger crews were under a pain of death to destroy the vehicle, not allow it to be captured into the enemy hands for use in propaganda or use in technology to try and find out the Germans' super weapons kind of capabilities. So, inside the game, it's a tier 6 tank, and it's a premium tank. And whenever you take a tier 6, a vehicle that's meant for tier 7 and drop it down a tier, it's always a little bit special. Tiger 131 is no exception within that regard. You can take its armor from tier 7 and they put it into tier 6 only matchmaking, and you don't have to worry about any tier 7 tanks that have higher pen. And so its armor of 100mm at the front and 80mm at the side suddenly starts to matter a little bit more. Not that much more, but a little bit more. But what is special is, by using a durability device on this vehicle, it's fast enough as it is, going along at 40 kilometers an hour with a decent power to weight ratio, you can start to get a real meaty amount of hit points, 1,210. I'd still say the VK3601 is the better tank at tier 6, which is a tech tree tank, right? But this one is making the extra credits. Plus, come on, your Tiger 131. And it means that you can out-nuke tanks like the ARL there, with great damage per minute of 1,885. And not the best pen, but decent alpha at 220. It kind of reminds me of back in the day when the Tiger, I believe, used to have 240 alpha. I think it's slightly higher now. It's 280, right? Things are different. Man, that first game that you have in a Tiger that's special, you definitely really appreciate German guns. And when I was playing the Tiger for the first time in 2011, that's exactly what you feel. You get this gun on the Tiger, and you're like, darn, this is super special. And then you get the Tiger 2, and you realize, wow, this armor is super special. At least it used to be on the front armor with it being angled. So my journey up the original, what used to be the tech tree that led towards the mouse, but before I managed to actually get to the VK4502B, which was the tank that was after the Tiger 2 that led towards the mouse in the very original German tech tree, Wargaming actually added on the E75 and the E100. And so I was there playing my Tiger 2. I never got the VK in time. And then I decided, oh, okay, you know what, I'll go for the E75 and the E100 instead, because, whoa, 750 Alpha, even though I only had like 230 pen back in the day. Yeah, really enjoyed the E100. But yeah, your journey up that tech tree was just so wonderful. You had the VK3601 at tier 6, did feel very powerful. It was a medium tank as well back in the day. Had a Connish gun, which I believe the gold rounds actually had higher alpha damage on, completely overpowered. But of course, I never fired a single gold round until they were available for credits outside of kind of like clan wars, because any spare gold you have, you might sneak a few into the random queue when you're feeling incredibly salty. But don't tell the clan that I was in, Philo, that at the time. But I digress. Yeah, the VK at tier 6 was this kind of like glass cannon-y medium, and then the tier 7 Tiger was very decent, and the gun just felt super special. Big DPM and better alpha and wonderful sniper. And the Tiger 2, just having that armor on the front, oh, it felt awesome. And then, if you were a bit slow like me and you chose the E75 instead of the VK4502B before it was moved across, yeah, then you started to realize how good the tank can be for side scraping and going hull down with the turret. And then E100, boom, baby, alpha, big hit points, this absolute chonker. And playing the E100 back in 2011 was crazy, because there were so many little baby tanks playing, and the matchmaker was brutal. Tier 6 tanks could meet tier 10 tanks, and trust me, shooting an M6 with an E100 did feel pretty much like you were kind of cheating back in the day. But in a way, that Wild West of World of Tanks felt even more rewarding. Okay, so now that we've gone through the entire history of why the Tiger means so much to me, let's focus on why this game means so much to me. And I mean the round that I'm playing in, not so much World of Tanks itself. And that is that up until that point where we managed to get even on a couple of shots and the enemy exposed themselves, so we've reset their hit points, this game was looking pretty tough. We're down by 1,000 hit points, but we're actually up by a tank. Although, can you call a self-propelled gun a tank? It's not really. And unfortunately, the G-Row shuts down the AMD 178B. Now, I know I was spotted making my way up the slope, so I'm expecting that the Excalibur is still skulking around at the back, but with the G-Row finish off the AMD, that's a bit of an enigma as to what might be happening. The G-Row spotted down towards the south. The SU-100Y also in an undisclosed position, but the box tank on the enemy team has destroyed 3 vehicles. That is not something that you want to get caught by. Box tank can have 440 alpha. Well, it's got 440 alpha on its standard rounds, and then that's pumping up to, I think it's over 500 if you can manage to pen the premium rounds. And while I do have a good slug of hit points, and I do have fairly okay armor for tier 6, it's not going to deal with that 122mm big boy gun on a fear of the box, as I think I used to call it, all the way back in like 2012 and 2013, man. Box tank was a wild child of World of Tanks. Always a vehicle that me and Jingles and Ike used to love taking onto the battlefield. I got a funny feeling there's a video of us getting, I think, destroying literally the entirety of the enemy team. I think we got either, I think it was 15 kills between us in those vehicles. So I'm just kind of like dipping my paws, I'm playing a Tiger, sorry that's terrible, into the bath before I decide to leap in, because, you know, I don't want to scorch my knackers within that regard. I'm just teasingly poking around this corner to try and see if the vehicle is going to be here, but interestingly enough, they're not. And now, I'm a little bit confused. Maybe I got spotted from the center of the map. Maybe there is nobody actually in this location. Where are the enemy team? They're not contesting our cap circle, and they don't seem to be making their way towards our base. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait, stay around the corner a little bit. When you're playing a heavy tank, remember you have quite poor camo rating. So bushes, they're useful, but they're not nearly as useful as they would be in a medium or a light with the way that they scale. So you still got to be careful pushing around the corner with a heavy tank into a bush. And I know that if I take a hit from the SU-100Y, who hasn't been spotted but has picked up those 3 kills, so I presumed at the time they're going to be sitting up on this slope. But whether they are on this little hill over towards the C0 area, well, it remains to be seen. So the Jackson also making their way like tantalizingly slowly up this slope. I'm just wondering where these remaining tank destroyers can be. And that's the age-old question of World of Tanks, right? Where are the tank destroyers? At least these days we can see on the minimap where they were last spotted something that was only added through XVM functionality. Imagine playing World of Tanks back in 2011 with no tank names on the minimap, no last spotted locations on the minimap. It was just people driving round, and whether they just randomly drove out in front of your gun or not was whether usually somebody was able to win the battle. So the Jackson making their way down the slope. I'm so confused as to why there were no tanks spotted there. But then I realized, okay, there's clearly no one here anymore. We've used up a lot of the game, 2/3 of the game. We're going to have to make our way now down towards the south, because draw is as bad as a loss. When somebody looks at your service record, they don't go, oh, they have 62% wins and 5% draws. No, they're just looking at how many wins you have. And a draw is factored in with the defeats. You gotta risk it for the biscuit. And with the enemy now making their way in towards the cap circle, they probably think that we're camping as well. So their hand has been forced. Oh gosh, 2 tanks inside the cap circle now. You see me thinking about making my way over, avoiding is it Geyser? The hot pools? Hot pools? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Let me know in the chat down below. These thermo-geo formations that are spewing forth hot water. And I feel like I'm going to be in hot water in a second. With 15 seconds left to be able to decap, make that 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. With literally 2 seconds left, we interrupt box tank on the enemy team, and because the artillery hit them, they are stunned, and so they can't manage to spot us. I need to get this box tank out quickly, though, because they've reached 320 meters away from me, so maybe they're going to be able to spot me in this scenario. With the G-Row now managing to get their gun across at us. They hit us for 331, but we finished them off, getting 57 extra base defense points. And there we go. Tiger 1-1 saves the battle. Now with 3 minutes left, I tell the Jackson on my team we must cap, but I actually bounce a shell from the Excalibur on the enemy team, who was last, well, we don't know if they were spotted on full hit points or not. I tell my team, he there. I obviously don't have time for the extra is in that scenario, but you know, those extra 2 key taps could be the milliseconds that we need. I tell the artillery to run north. I tell the Jackson to flank around. But I realize there's no way we're capping with an Excalibur. Wow, the Excalibur does get spotted on full hit points. I switch out to an AP round. Am I going to switch out to an HE round? I am. Whoa, there we go. 277 damage into the back of the tier 6 British tank destroyer. That is, I thought it was a low roll for a second, but the alpha damage on these HE shells, only 50 more. Unfortunately, the Excalibur finishes off the artillery, but that artillery provided us with excellent information and allowed us to get 500 hit points off the Excalibur. And here we go. Here's our moment. Got to blind fire the Excalibur. Oh, no, a whiff. We don't quite manage to get it in. That box is very much faster than us. And oh no, now there's a very sneaky British tank with a turret and a Black Prince gun bearing it around on me, putting in a APCR round into my vehicle. I'm trying to blind fire the Excalibur around the corner, just trying to scare them off into maybe thinking they've been spotted so they don't get an extra shot. The siren sounds now with 2 minutes left on the battle, and me and the Jackson are playing a very dangerous game of the Fox and the Hounds right now. The Excalibur definitely a bit of a fox within that regard, and it was quite likely to turn around and bare its teeth. Now, thank goodness that I'm using the durability device here, because it's actually giving me enough hit points to have pretty much a 50-50 to be able to take a shot. The Excalibur has 150 alpha, and I have 145 hit points. So if he hits me and he pens me, half of the time I'm going to be out this game, and then it'll be down to the Jackson to be able to get us across the finish line here. The Jackson with 240 alpha. I'm still looking to see if the Jackson is getting hit. We're looking left, we're looking right, we're seeing the situation. The Jackson still has enough hit points. The Jackson isn't using the top gun, but gets a great shot into the Excalibur, so all I have to do is hit one more shot. I absorb the shell for the Jackson, keeping them into the game, and this Excalibur, he's giving me just his edge, and he actually manages to pen me. That activates my adrenaline rush. I'm very lucky that he didn't manage to finish me off, and oh, I fluffed the shot right on the front of the vehicle as I decided to try and angle my armor in to give him less of a shot on my side. I am choking hard at this stage. 50 seconds left. It's neck and neck. We're all a one shot. 80 hit points on our team and 15 on the enemy team. The Excalibur misses. The Jackson goes around the corner. The Jackson misses. The Excalibur comes around the corner, and the Jackson finishes them off. I give him a big thumbs up to the Jackson behind me, who carried me at the end of this game, with the Jackson picking up 4 kills, Uncle QuickyBaby getting 5. This was a stressor, and I have to admit, I felt like I played a great game all the way up until the end. And it's like, how do you harass a turreted tank destroyer with such a voracious rate of fire and a fully flexible turret in that scenario as you come around the corner with this big boxy hull exposing this kind of an area as you come round will be an easy shot for an accurate British gun. Luckily, looks like the stress got to both sides. Both players on my team and also the enemy team were whiffing, but it looks like the Jackson hero called Alexson was whiffing just a little bit less as we take down this battle. This was every reason as to why I love World of Tanks. I'm playing a vehicle that will always have a special place in my heart. Tiger 131. We've got great teammates as well, and we've got really close finishes. This was World of Tanks. And I have to admit, unfortunately, sometimes this is not what World of Tanks feels like these days in 2024. But let's just remember the great games. Let's remember the epic games. And this was certainly one of them. So an ace tanker here for the tank that got me into the game that wouldn't actually enter the game for about 5 years later. Tiger 131 for the 1,654 base experience. A high caliber for that 3,335 damage. Definitely wouldn't have got through this one without Alex. And my condolences to the Excalibur on the enemy team, who did twice as much damage as anyone else on their team as well. A steel wall for the Tiger 131. We received 12 hits. You need 11 for a steel wall. And I only blocked 570 damage with armor. Shows you that Tiger 131 is more about the hit points this vehicle has than the armor that it carries. And a defender medal for 100 base defense points. We actually traveled 4.4 kilometers in the Tiger here. That's there and back and there and back again, all the way along the edge of the map. And as this is a premium tank, we make 63,000 credits profit. This was every reason why I fell in love with this game in 2011 and why I still enjoy it to this day. Definitely some days more than others. And as you can see, this was just a pre-Christmas treat for me at the end of 2023. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Wednesday and you're feeling a little bit lonely this Valentine's Day, then I've got you covered. I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And also, for watching the stream today, you can get yourself a Love Machine 2D style in World of Tanks. So everyone who's not going to watch my stream today, obviously they're a Love Machine. And everybody who does watch my stream today, they're going to be a Love Machine as well. At least inside the game. So come along, get yourself a 2D style for watching the stream for a few hours. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.